And now we move on to the main focus of our presentation, which is Gordon Lam, the CEO and Director of Etruscus Resources Corp. Gordon, as an introduction, has over 21 years of experience in public markets as an investment advisor, independent consultant, entrepreneur, and investor. He specializes in helping early-stage companies with the public listing process, corporate and market development, financings, and advisory services. His entrepreneurship and understanding and competency in all components of a successful company make him a valuable asset for early-stage companies. Having graduated with a Bachelor of Commerce Finance degree from the University of British Columbia, Gordon has a strong balance of business knowledge, analytical skills, and hands-on experience. Gordon has used these assets to become an investment advisor for 16 years at 3 different brokerage firms. And in 2013, he left PI Financial Corp to start his own business/management consulting business. And he has recently provided consulting services to firms in the technology, biotechnology, resource, automotive, and oil services sectors. And so, Gordon, I think everybody's quite interested to hear what you have to say. So I'd like to bring you on here and have you start your portion of the presentation.
Hi. Thank you, Jordan. It's a pleasure to be here, to have the opportunity to talk about Etruscus Resources. We're a very unknown company that just got listed just last year. So, we think that the developments that we're doing over the next few months will really help transcend us to be a much more recognized company going forward here. Next slide. Disclaimer, forward-looking statement. This is a standard statement, the usual language. The BC Golden Triangle, it's a proven area with proven success, unparalleled potential. Etruscus has 2 properties in the BC Golden Triangle called the Rock and Roll property as well as the Sugar property. And the BC Golden Triangle is actually known to be one of the most prolific, if not the most prolific area in the world for mineralized deposits. In fact, to date, there's been more than 130 million ounces of gold, 800 million ounces of silver, and over 40 billion pounds of copper that has been discovered in this BC Golden Triangle. But what's remarkable about that is that despite such a huge number, only less than 1% of the deposits in the BC Golden Triangle has actually been discovered to this date. So there's definitely a lot of potential for other discoveries and large deposits and so forth that will be discovered in the future here. I want to talk a little bit about the Eskay Creek mine that was discovered in 1988. That discovery was brought a lot of prominence into the Golden Triangle area because of the phenomenal grades that were found at Eskay Creek. It was 3 million tons of 49 grams per ton gold and unheard of 3,100 grams per ton of silver. Numbers that just were unbelievable, and at that time was the greatest, highest grade gold ever discovered at that time. And the production of that led on to that Eskay mine to become the 5th largest silver producing mine in the world as well. So unbelievable. That discovery actually started a market frenzy in the late 80s, early 90s that lit up all the stocks in the Golden Triangle. Skeena Resources, which owned Eskay Creek, went from $1 to as high as $67 before it got taken out by International Corona. And so, as I said, there's less than 1% been discovered to date, and we believe that there could be another Eskay Creek, perhaps even on our property. And the reason I say that is because one of our key advisors, David Dupree, he was instrumental in the 1988 discovery of the Eskay Creek mine. He was the mine manager, and he and his team made that discovery. So when we were looking for a property a few years ago, we asked them what's the best property to acquire in the BC Golden Triangle. He said, this Rock and Roll project, because he thinks that he knows that there's rocks that are similar to what's at Eskay Creek, and he believes that something similar could have happened on our rock and roll property. So looking forward, we think that Etruscus, with our advantage with David Dupree as being one of our advisors, or maybe it could be some of the other junior companies in our area, that we could be at the cusp of another gold rush in our area, particularly with gold at all-time highs at 2,000 plus per ounce. Next slide. So the highlights. We are at the right place at the right time. As I said, we have 2 properties in the BC Golden Triangle. They combine to be a total of 27,000 plus hectares. Certainly one of the larger land packages in the area, so we're really happy with that. What's another distinct advantage that we have is that we already have a resource on our property called the Black Dog deposit. That was we had a 43-101 done on the property prior to us IPOing in 2019, so that's available there. And what's important about having this deposit, though, is that there's this old adage out there that generally you find mines close to existing mines, or finding deposits close to existing deposits. So we have one. We think there's more nearby. There's also 7 kilometers away. There's the old Snip Mine that was a past producer that did extremely well. Again, they had 1 million ounces of almost a full ounce per ton. It was a super rich gold deposit there. Their stock went from $1 to $28 before it was acquired by the Prime Resources, one of the companies owned by the infamous Murray Pesum. So we believe in our great spot, that we know that there are other deposits and mines that are going to be nearby. And so we're excited to we started our season early August, and we're excited to get results from that, as well as a VTEM survey that we're doing as we speak. That's helping us define some of our drill targets that we are planning to go after in the next few weeks here. So we have really tight share structure. We're currently trading at a valuation of about $10 to $11 million. We believe we're the lowest market cap company in the BC Golden Triangle. That's largely truly because we're not as well known as some of the other companies surrounding us. Again, I believe that's going to change with some of the marketing that we're doing and so forth. But most of the other Golden Triangle companies are valued at 40 million plus. So at us being at 10 million, we are definitely undervalued, and we offer a great upside proposition. Our management team, both from a geological team aspect as well as a capital markets team, both groups are extremely experienced. We've done it before. Our geologists have done numerous discoveries in the past. The capital markets have a track record of it being in the industry for decades, and I think we have a really, really strong team that is poised to expand our existing resource here. Majors in the area, but there's just so much money being invested into our area. In 2018, over $165 million was put into exploration. Majors like Newmont and Barrick are making huge investments. In particular, it's become more global as well, because Newcrest out of Australia, they put in $750 million to buy the Red Chris mine up in the northeast corner of the BC Golden Triangle. So huge money coming to the area, and I think we're just a matter of time before we get to the more discoveries and that sort of thing. So next slide. Now I pass it back to Jordan.
Thanks, Gordon. So as we spoke of earlier, I'd like to introduce another member of the team. That's Dave Webb, who's the VP of Exploration for Etruscus Resources. And Dave is boots on the ground in the resource in the BC Golden Triangle as we speak. But before he left, we were able to kind of get a chance to record a portion of the presentation with him, which was awesome that he was able to take the time to do that, as the connection up in that area is spotty at best, to say the least. As an introduction, Dr. Webb is a registered professional geologist with over 30 years of experience in mineral exploration, development, and production in Canada and internationally. He holds a Bachelor of Arts in Science from the University of Toronto, a Master's of Science in Geological Sciences from Queen's University, and a PhD in Geological Sciences from the University of Western Ontario. And during his tenures as president of both public and private companies, projects have been developed from pre-discovery all the way to production. And during this period, companies under Dr. Webb's management have raised over $70 million in development funds. And so I'd like to kind of pass things over to Dave Webb, where he's going to be explaining a little bit more about the details of the resource itself.
Hi, I'm Dave Webb, Vice President of Exploration for Etruscus Resources. I can't be with you here today live, but this is recorded on the weekend. Hopefully I can tell you a little bit about the company. Our projects are focused at the Rock and Roll and the Sugar projects. They're located in the Golden Triangle, northern BC. You can see them on the map here. We are just 7 kilometers from the Snip Mine and 11 kilometers from the historic Johnny Mountain Mine, currently under exploration from Seabridge. We have road access from the Stewart-Cassiar Highway. And things are improving here with the power plant being put in, very easy access. The next slide shows our land position. So the Rock and Roll property was acquired in 2 parts. The southeastern portion with the Black Dog deposit shown here was purchased as part of a deal to get the company up and going. And then we staked additional land to cover more of the prospective ground that we had found. And lastly, we acquired the Sugar property. And this is just south of the Galore Creek deposit. The receding glaciers, which are marked here in blue on our property, are exposing more land that has never been seen before. And because we're so close to large deposits, we feel that we have great potential. The Rock and Roll property on the next slide was found in 1988. It was a follow-up of some geochemical surveys. Prime Resources drilled it and identified the Black Dog Horizon. This is a volcanogenic massive sulphide deposit. They tend to be planar or potty deposits, but there are some very well-known ones that we'll talk about in a little bit. Most of the work has been done on the Black Dog deposit, which is really quite a small area, less than 20,000 square meters. We are focusing on expanding this area, and we'll show you some of the geophysics and some of the geochemistry that helps us identify that. The next slide is a map that shows the geology, and there's a couple critical things here that are worth noting. We've had some age dating on the Black Dog deposit, or the rocks that host it, and we know that it's the same age as the Grand Duke mine. And I'll give you a little bit of detail on the Grand Duke mine in about 4 slides. The VMS mineralization tends to be strata bound, and it would occur along the horizons, both along strike and down dip. And that's the other critical thing here, is most of those blue rocks on the left side or to the west, from Lost Lake to the west, had been determined to be the same age as the Black Dog Horizon. So it's conformable, it's layer cake. It is sitting right on top of the ore hosting horizon. The deposit itself has had a lot of work done on it. So, I mean, if you look at hole number 1, this is a hole that most geologists would dream of. Almost 22 grams of gold equivalent over 9.7 meters, or 781 grams of silver per ton. And I did a little calculation here at $29 per ounce. That adds roughly $1 per gram. So that's pretty valuable rock to look at. The lens itself is 650 meters long. It's been traced to about 200 meters, and it averages about 5 meters in width and sticks out on surface. So initially, a resource estimate was calculated by Alan Armitage, independent, and you can see a little over 2 million tons at 0.71 grams of gold per ton, 87 grams of silver per ton, and fairly low base metal values, almost 1% zinc. The next slide shows some of the work that we've done. Now, some of it is based on geophysics, some of it's based on geochemistry, and of course, boots on the ground has really helped us here. But this shows that strike length, the outcropping black dog stratigraphy can be traced for over 2 kilometers now. And as we go to the north, we hit the Angie targets, and we've had 2 drill holes in here hitting some narrow volcanogenic massive sulphide mineralization, but we have complicated geophysics, so we hope to do some further work up here. Everything dips or leans to the west or southwest here and goes underneath the blue carbonate horizon. And our geophysics has focused on looking at what's underneath these rocks that we can't see through easily. So the next slide shows what came of that, and that's the wall target. This target came out of some geophysical work that had been done and some manipulation of that geophysics looking at depth slices. And it shows at about 200 to 300 meters depth, we have a very strong conductor that is similar in nature and actually stronger than the Black Dog deposit itself. It's in the same horizon, and the age dating would suggest that it's the same unit. We have the brown sugar, which occurs halfway between the wall and the Black Dog outcrop, so we feel quite positive about that, although the geophysics that trace it runs into a lake, and we really haven't done much groundwork on that. So the next slide shows the Black Dog, where we intend to do some deep drilling on that and follow it farther along to depth. The Heartbreak is a very strong EM conductor, just a little bit down dip, but it's separated by about 300 meters. The Angie target, as you saw, was across the Eskay River. We have a couple drill holes in there, and we've got some good results. The geochemistry that we've done, it's very old technology, but the new analytical techniques makes it very cheap and very sensitive, where we can actually scrape the bark off a tree and analyze that for lead and zinc and silver. And it's really helped us identify some of the mineralization or the trends. So this is the wall and the brown sugar target in a section. So we're looking to the north, and you can see the Black Dog on the right outcropping on surface. And as that horizon goes down and you can't see it and you can't taste it, it's just out of sight, we can pick it up geophysically. And you can see the small brown sugar target, which is a little bit bigger than the Black Dog electromagnetic anomaly, leads into the wall, which is a really big conductor at the right location. So we hope to get some drill holes into that this summer.
Thank you, Dave. So this is a 3D video of the rock and roll property, the conductivity that exists on the property. And I'm just going to point out here in the middle of the image there, there's the red conductor there, and you can see that 108 of the 113 holes that have been drilled to date are just solely in that area, going to depths of just up to 100 meters. No real work was done elsewhere, but you can see how the red conductor goes towards the southwest to depths of 300 meters towards the brown sugar and then the wall target that Dave Webb talked about. This wall target, by the way, actually extends to the west up to another couple of kilometers. So as you can see, it's a very large conductor. The size of this footprint is Dave mentioned earlier, is 10 times the footprint of the Black Dog deposit. So we have the opportunity for a large scale type of resource here. So we're extremely excited about the coming weeks that when we start drilling here. Now, I just want to talk a little bit more towards the end of the video here. As you can see here, there's a lot of area that shows the red conductors, and there's so many different targets there, and you know, we want to go after all those and again expand on our resource. And now I'm just going to pass it back to Dave to complete his presentation.
We have the Kashmir target, which is an extension of the Black Dog just to the west of our Ziggy anomaly, and the Deer Maker showing, which is a really interesting exposed massive sulphide. It's got some good copper, lead, zinc, silver values right along the river, but it's going the wrong way. So we're doing some more structural mapping to figure out, is this overturned? Is this a new unit? It's about 300 meters too deep in the stratigraphy to be the Black Dog horizon. Okay, this slide touches on proximal VMS deposits. And one of the things that's kind of critical, and you can see in the little map image, Flin Flon, Snow Lake, Matagami, Noranda, the Hokuruku district, and you could add on many others, is VMS deposits occur in clusters. And these clusters can be spanning over a small area, 10, 15 kilometers, or perhaps even up to 20 or 30 kilometers. Each one of these forms a district that is characteristic of that kind of deposit. For example, up at Eskay Creek, there are some very gold and silver rich massive sulphide lenses, but there's also some more base metal enriched massive sulphide lenses that are very important. So if you look at what we have at Black Dog, as I said earlier, we're at similar age as the Grand Duke mine. So that's a 39 million ton deposit. That's 1.73% copper. That's in the same belt of rocks, in the same Golden Triangle area as we're operating in. You have other deposits like Greens Creek, Cucho, Windy Craigie, Tulsa Chief. These are just some examples of what you can get. And you can see some are silver rich, some are copper rich, some are gold rich. So that is our target. We have one in the Black Dog deposit, and we have abundant evidence that there's other ones in the area, and that's what we're going to be drilling into this year. So the Black Dog trend is something that will be expanding. We can look anywhere along there, and with some new VTEM surveys being done, we hope to identify more anomalies along here. The Rob area is something that we've been focusing on over the last few days, and this is exciting because we see some historic work that had been done and kind of paper copies filed away. We can see some strong conductivity anomalies in this area, and it's something that we have to check because the geochemistry is giving us an interesting suite of elements that's not quite a Black Dog type of mineralization. It's more similar to something that we'd see at the Snip Mine or the Johnny Mountain Mine. And we also have a skarn deposit. Now, skarn deposits occur in the area. They can be very large, very prospective. They're very different from the VMS deposit that is the Black Dog. So we've got a few of these that we want to check out. And the skarn area has popped up with good geochemistry and very good aeromagnetic data. I mentioned the geochemistry. So this is the bark scraping. And you can see the Black Dog trend is really well identified. In yellow is the outcropping deposit, and you can see the trees really show a strong contamination of copper, lead, zinc, silver, gold, suite of elements that we want to chase. But it is very hot along that trend as you approach Lost Lake, the Kashmir area. And then south of Lost Lake, we have a strong anomaly along that trend. So we're quite optimistic about it. And to the west, the extension to depth underneath the carbonate package, the trees can only sample what the roots are touching, and that includes soils and waters. So we really don't see much geochemically, although there's some interesting trends that we'll focus on in the future. The Rob area, those are the anomalies that are off trend, but certainly worth following up on. So we come into the away from the black dog trend. We have the Hoodoo West anomalies. There we've identified some high-grade gold samples in small veins. We have identified a limestone trend that may be similar to the limestone trend that sits on top of the black dog stratigraphy, suggesting that immediately beneath it we could have some more volcanogenic massive sulphides. And we intend to do some VTEM surveys over this, as well as some bark and rock sampling, just to see if we have some anomalies that hadn't been found before. And then as we go to Hoodoo North, we're starting to talk about rocks that have been covered by glaciers for tens of thousands of years and are now available to be looked at for the first time ever. We've got some very exciting rocks to look at there, quite positive looking historical samples. Today we might be able to see a little bit more. So the slide showing these blue areas, you can see the Hoodoo North and the Hoodoo West, and the Hoodoo West area is mostly covered with glaciers, but because of the new exposures, we're quite optimistic there. When we go to the north, to our sugar property, this was acquired because it's immediately south of the Galore Creek area, and their road that's coming in does approach us from the north, not much more than about 10 kilometers away. Great access. We have known skarn mineralization, known porphyry style mineralization, known vein mineralization, and the crews will be in there and are in there right now looking at that. With our VTEM survey over it, we'll highlight geophysical targets that could suggest something larger. One thing I didn't touch on, and Gordon can go into that, is unlike most of the Golden Triangle, our deposit is sitting at elevation 70 meters above sea level. That's 70. And that one cross section was actually relative to mean sea level. So you can see the uppermost grid line was 100 meters above sea level, and we go down below that with some of the deeper targets. So that gives us a longer field season, less snow cover. It's a much nicer place to work than on the top of one of these mountains that are snow covered into July.
And that concludes the portion that Dr. Webb was able to record with us. Big thanks again to him for taking the time before he left to fly up to the Golden Triangle itself. And now I'd like to bring Gordon back so he can tell us some more about the board and management for Etruscus Resources.
Thank you, Jordan. The board of management of Etruscus, led by myself as the CEO, I've been in the public markets for well over 22 years. I've been mostly focused on the early stage startup type companies, been involved in many CPCs, IPOs. What I usually like to do is build a solid foundation with these companies, with strong management, well capitalized, and then that way we have a strong base in order to rapidly grow from. So Dr. Dave Webb, who you've met, has well over 30 years of experience developing projects that get into the production stage. John Lever, he's our CFO, very experienced director and officer of many public companies over the past 25 years. The rest of our board, Fury Alaperti, Michael Sikic, and Jason Lycum, they all have 10 to 25 years of experience that's relevant into the resource sector here. Next slide. Our exploration team, advisory board, again, very strong. Well over 200 years of experience here. Carl Ryan, our project geologist, for the past 5 years, he's been focused on the BC Golden Triangle, very strong technical knowledge as well as managerial skills. Jules Lajoie, he's our geophysicist, very experienced. He's been instrumental in many of the discoveries in the Golden Triangle. So, we're really happy to have him as part of our team because he's one of the best in the business. David Dupree, advisor that I spoke about earlier, he was instrumental in the discovery of the Eskay Creek mine. So since 1988, he's been focused primarily on this BC Golden Triangle area, so he knows everything, every good property, and the good sides and bad sides of the working in the area. Mary Jones and Lindsay Bottom are two other important advisors. They both have experience working on the rock and roll property. Lindsay Bottomer actually worked alongside Murray Peslam back in the late 80s, early 90s, so he has a lot of intimate knowledge of the area and experiences that they went through. He's able to pass that on to us that would help us reduce the time and resources that we need to get our project going. Murray Jones, same thing. He works with Equity, the previous owner, from 2009 to 11. A key contribution that they made was that they digitized all the historical data. So that was a lot of work that the time and energy that they helped save for us. So it was really helpful in accelerating the development of our project, since beginning of 2019. So our share structure, now this is as of July 1st. So as Neil mentioned earlier, we just closed 1.2 million financing we announced yesterday. So our share structure is probably about 25.5 million shares, fully diluted, probably about 33 million. But what I want to point out with our share structure is that of the total outstanding, 10 million shares is owned by management, directors, officers, and we all voluntarily escrowed every single share of that when we IPO'd, and that's not something that many companies do. So that just demonstrates our long-term commitment to the project, and we want to build significant shareholder value with this project. The remaining 15.5 million shares or so is still quite tightly held. A lot of it's held by close friends and family. I would say, over 80% of that is held by that group. These are all loyal shareholders that, through my 20+ years in the business, that I've worked with, and they're in it for the long haul. Options and warrants. Options are mainly held by management, directors, and officers. The warrants are predominantly held by the close friends and family as well. So again, most of the shares out there are tightly held and loyal long-term type shareholders. Conclusion, why should you invest in Etruscus? Well, first of all, we're in a great area, the BC Golden Triangle, one of the most prolific in the world. Our infrastructure has significantly improved since in the last 30 years, with roads going right up to our property, power lines that have reduced our operating costs, rail and port that has helped make travel a lot easier as well. Scalability, as we discussed, there's well over 27,000 hectares property. We have multiple targets, and some of them have multi-million ounce potential. So we have that large scale potential to really get a significant resource built. Ongoing work, we're currently doing our exploration program. Going to be drilling in the coming weeks here. Our goal is to build upon our resource that we already have, that is already 43-101 compliant. So we've got a strong base to build on that. That very few companies around us have, and there's where there are mines, there are other mines close by. So we believe that strongly that we have the management and advisory team to do that. They have a proven track record of finding discoveries as well as developing them. So we're a very strong team there. Our Black Dog VMS system has major size and scale. Through last year's work, we were the first company to expand on an area beyond the Black Dog deposit. That area is only 600 meters, but we were able to take large step outs that really expanded the total strike length of our property. So we know that our Black Dog VMS system is much bigger than what was previously thought, and we are going to work further to expand that further. Our VMS model, as Dave Webb alluded to, they form in clusters. So we strongly believe there's other lenses of this VMS that is nearby. We have one already with the Black Dog deposit, but generally there's on average 8 of them nearby. So there could be multiple of them on our property, and we're excited to get going on our exploration and drilling this year, and hopefully find some much larger, more richer zones of our VMS system, and again build on our current resource. And that's the end of our presentation. Back to
Thank you, Gordon. Appreciate that so much. Now we get a chance to move on into the Q&A section of the presentation. So for those of you who would like to ask some questions, we already have some that have come in. What we wanted to do, because Dave is not here, if you have a question specifically for Dave, if you wanted to earmark that for him, kind of as you're asking your question, what we will do is we'll do our best to get that to him while he's away, so that he can answer those questions, and then we'll come back to you at a later date. But of course, we do have Gordon here live, and so Gordon, if you're ready, we'll launch into some questions here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. The question here is, when drilling starts, how many holes, and what are the meters you're looking for, and what's the cost of that going to be?
We're looking to do about 6 to 8 holes, a lot of deep holes. There'll be somewhere between 2,500 and 3,000 meters. Now that's initially. If we get the favorable results that we are hoping for, we're going to bring a second drill and quickly expand our program. As we discussed earlier, we're being at a lower sea level, near sea level elevation. We could actually drill up until the end of the year, late into November. So we've got plenty of time to expand our program and make it a much bigger program. Especially if we get the results that we're hoping for. Cost-wise, the unique thing about this year with COVID is that a lot of our costs have actually decreased, and part of the reason I say that is because our camp, we actually to comply with the new COVID procedures, we had to build our own camp. So we did that early in the season, and what that did was that it significantly reduced our costs. And so a lot of those payments have already been made, and so going forward, our costs have gone down. So it's that combined with all the infrastructural improvements in the area, our costs are well in control.
Absolutely. How do you propose to increase liquidity?
Well, we didn't do a lot of marketing in 2019, and that's why we didn't have a lot of liquidity. But this year, our liquidity has actually improved quite a bit. And you can see that there's regular trading in our stock for the past several months. That is partly attributed to us having a Frankfurt listing. We've actually had a lot of new investors coming out of Europe. We're also looking at, we're currently looking at applying for an OTC listing to target the U.S. investors as well. So we're doing all that, as well as working with newsletter writers, social media, other sources that will help improve the liquidity in our stock.
Right. Just a clarification one here. You had said 10 million escrowed, but on the share structure page, it listed 6 million. Can you clarify that?
Yeah, sorry. So when we were listed, there was 10 million shares that were escrowed, but every 6 months, a certain amount of shares get released from escrow. So as of today, or as of July 1st, we're now down to 6 million. But I can assure you that none of those shares have been sold or anything like that, because every share would have to be reported in our insider filings, etc. So yeah, so that's how we got to the new number for Eskay.
Great. And can you give us some more details on the timeline? Is there an expected timeline for announcements of results as we're going forward?
Well, so we're going to start drilling late August, early September. And what's unique about VMS systems is that when we pull up the core, we're actually able to see, visually see some of the mineralization. So we'll have a good indication that we'll have some good results at that time. In terms of actually assay results, that will probably be more October, but that depends on the assay labs, because it's for the past few years it's been relatively slow. So we've been working with we're actually working with a new assay lab that we hope will have a quicker turnaround. And if our results are good, we're going to fast track it and hopefully get results within 2 to 4 weeks. So yeah, we want to get them as fast as we can.
Absolutely. Another one coming in here is who is Palisades Gold Corp?
Palisades Gold Corp, they're the lead investor in our current financing. They're the largest. They put in the largest amount. They are a merchant bank that has in excess of $200 million in investing capital. And they often invest alongside the likes of Sprott and McEwen and other deals. We're excited to have them on a board because they really saw the potential in our company, given that they seek undervalued companies. And with our market cap at $10 million, they jumped at it right away. They thought it was a perfect fit for their investing philosophy.
For sure. How much money has management personally invested?
So of the escrowed shares that I spoke about, that was in excess of $150,000. So that's management. If I talk about close friends and family, that's probably another $1 million plus sort of thing. So we're heavily involved, heavily invested. We're committed for the long haul. We're going to do what it takes to make this work.
Great. And then, do you have any comments on the New Hammer area?
The New Hammer area is actually a pickup we just recently staked. Our geological team saw it last year through some flights to our sugar property, and there was a stain on some of the rocks that they got really excited about. So given that we're at the sugar property and it's along the way, we just felt it was right for us to stake that. There's got some potential, some high-grade copper sampling there, so it just fits perfectly with our current sugar property, and we want to do more work on it. We've actually done a little bit of work on it already in the past few weeks, and we should be reporting some results in the coming weeks on that.
Great. And last one here actually is what are management salaries?
Our management salary is actually quite low. Like my salary, for instance, is $7,500 a month, which is lower than most CEOs in the junior mining space. That is representative of the rest of our management team, who take somewhere around $2,500 a month. So we're some of the lowest salaries in the area. And the reason why we did that is because we purposely did that we wanted equity in the deal. That's where we see the upside. That's where we want to make it work. That's where we want, to make the capital gains that, to create wealth, right? It's not about the income to us. We want to have the next Eskay Creek. If we can do that, that more than makes up for any lower income.
Absolutely.
You know, so.
Well, thank you so much, Gordon, for taking the time to join us today and to give us your presentation. I'm sure we're all very grateful for the fact that you were able to take the time to speak to us. It was an excellent presentation, and yeah, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Jordan.